I didn't read that.
What is up, everyone?
Yeah, check our YouTube. Welcome in, welcome in. How we doing? Another day, another live stream. Welcome in to our Sixers versus Pacers plus ball yap sesh. A lot to talk about with the Sixers. They're finally back in action tonight. They've been off for, it feels like a month, but it's only been about a week, maybe a little less than that. But they play tonight, Friday night. They are back home versus the Pacers. Actually, the next couple games are relatively easy. They should be hopefully at as full health as we've seen them as of late, which is refreshing to say. As Sixers fans, we know it can be pretty painful, but it's nice to have the big fella who should be a go tonight, as well as most other guys here. So welcome in, and we are excited to get going, man.
Yeah, if you have questions, we're certainly going to bring into like our questions that some of you asked on our Instagram story and everything like that. We'll certainly go through those. If you have some more that you want to ask away in the comment section. We can actually pull them up on the screen.
Yeah.
Here, we're testing out like StreamYard for this live stream. Last time we went live on like just directly on YouTube. So bear with us if this doesn't go as well or there's technical difficulties or anything like that. We have done like some previous like uploaded videos on our YouTube through StreamYard, some through YouTube. We're kind of testing out a bunch of different things right now. So appreciate your patience with all that. And we'll go through previewing the Sixers-Pacers game tonight. It feels like forever since the Sixers last played. Since Sunday, been almost a week, which is kind of crazy considering what you're sometimes used to back-to-backs and playing every other day type of stuff for the Sixers. But they are back tonight, playing Indiana at home. And right now it's looking good for a few players. Joel Embiid has practiced back-to-back days, practiced yesterday and Wednesday for the team. So it's looking like he's good to go tonight against the Pacers. Some guys that are going to be out. Kayla Martin is going to be out for the Sixers. She's been battling injuries for the last few games here. And Dambona with his knee. But everyone else is looking to be healthy for right now. It's if anyone's used to stuff for the Sixers, it is last-second injuries with them. And people getting pulled out late. I'm sure Embiid will be a game time decision until right before the game starts, until the very last second when they can, when they have to announce injuries and all that kind of stuff too. So stay tuned for that. Yeah,
Sixers 6.5-point favorites tonight, which I feel like we haven't been able to say that a lot this year, where they've been even, it feels like, above a 3-point favorite at times. I mean, mainly because of the injuries, but at full health, I like their chances against. And I said this, and I'll say it again and again, and you'll probably hear me on a repeat, but this team at full health can compete, I believe, with really anyone. But once again, we haven't been able to see that. But it seems like they're trending upwards. They're finally starting to win a few games here. There is some momentum with the team. It seems like there's positive vibes. Tyrese Maxey against the Chicago Bulls is coming off a triple-double, right? His first one of his career. Embiid played well. He bounced back from the 0-6 start from the field and actually had a pretty damn good game, which looked like he was pretty much fully healthy. In his other 4 games he played, you could kind of tell there were some lingering issues there. But overall, even defensively, his movement was really refreshing to see. And just the body of just Joel Embiid out there, having his presence defensively makes an impact for everyone else. And same thing offensively. We know the production that he can bring just by himself, giving you 30-plus points a night. But he creates lanes and opportunities for others. Guys like Tyrese Maxey, who we consider to be a star on this team, and I think he absolutely is, can shine even more, and the pressure is taken off of him versus the past couple games that you've seen without Joel and other stars out there, at times PG missing. There's a lot of pressure on a guy like Maxey to step up and carry the load. And not to say he can't at times, but to do it on a consistent nightly basis is a different thing. So nice to have Joel back in the lineup. Knock on wood for tonight. And man. And Paul George as well. I think defensively, he's been solid. One of the better on-ball defenders in the NBA, but still battling back from injury. Shot selection-wise, we talked about it on our first report card that we did with Paul George, and even comparing him to Tobias Harris, which we hate doing, but at the same time, it feels good. And it's an upgrade, as we all know. But Paul George, the shots might not be falling and the ball's not going in as consistent as it has previously for him. I think he can bounce back from it. And the shot selection, the way he's able to create his own shots for himself has been awesome to see. So I like their chances versus the Pacers, but Pacers coming in, they're 10-15, so slightly below 500. They're no force they were last year. Definitely off to a much slower start. They were in the NBA Cup and one of the finalists in that last year. Not the same team so far.
I mean, Halliburton has struggled for the Pacers, and unfortunately, guys like Pascal Siakam and Miles Turner aren't getting any younger for them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm not saying that their future's gone or like that, but the Pacers, who made quite a run in the Eastern Conference last year, are certainly a beatable team tonight. They may want some revenge on the Sixers, who beat them in overtime in the last matchup earlier this season in Indiana. For that matchup, which a lot of Sixers were out for that, with no Paul George or Embiid in that matchup there. But looking forward to an exciting game tonight against their team. Is you seeing any injuries for them so far?
Yeah, so guys that are out, I mean, not a huge impact here. James Wiseman has been out since October 23rd, which not really an impact player. Neesmith, I believe he might be back. He was out in early November. I'm not sure if he's still out. Isaiah Jackson and Ben Shepherd. So some notable injuries, some guys coming back from injury perhaps. We'll see. Some fun stats just looking down the Pacers lineup here. First of all, Benedict Mathurin has been playing really good basketball. He has certainly had a comeback season. He's averaging 17.8 points per game and shooting close to 40% from three, which is really, really good. Siakam, not known as a knockdown three-point shooter. He only attempts roughly, 2.5 threes per game. So it's not a ton, but he's shooting at a 41% clip through, 25 games so far. So Siakam shooting well, 19 points a game there, but no one pops off the charts and you're like, hey, this guy you have to shut down there. Previously it was Halliburton. He's having career lows in points right around 17 so far. So compared to his all-star season last year, not the same player. But hey, I mean, honestly, both Tyrese's in this matchup, Tyrese Halliburton and Maxey are both kind of struggling. So, it should be an interesting game to see. But size-wise, we match up relatively well, especially as you got Joel Embiid back in the mix there. But Miles Turner's a good defender in there. He's a known shot blocker, not the most physical guy, but has hops and is able to stretch out the floor as well. Can knock down the threes from that center position. So Miles Turner is always a tough matchup, but we'll see how this game goes. I like our chances, and I really do.
Yeah, especially being home. One guy, a little revenge game, maybe TJ McConnell. I could see him getting a 30-point game. Is he?
Hey, I had him on a fantasy basketball team. He dropped 40 plus fantasy points, so not 40 in real life, but still. He went off, man, and he's been a productive dude. He played minutes in the playoffs. He's a guy that comes off the bench, and I mean, we know him very well as Sixers fans. He's a spark plug. That's a guy sometimes you hate to face, and you're like, he's not that skilled, but man, does he battle it out. And TJ McConnell's a smart player. He really is. He's a heads-up guy, and we'll see. The Sixers need to once again limit the turnovers. It seems like it's been a struggle out there, especially with Joel Embiid back in the mix. Sometimes we love him, but we see that he kind of gets lazy. Get the ball in the post, he'll swing it out here, he'll make a dumb pass.
He may, use 20 of the 24 seconds of the shot clock.
Right.
Which sometimes one thing some teams will do against Sixers, they'll full court press, waste a few seconds off of that, getting it past half court because they know the ball's going right to Joel Embiid. He's going to waste another 10, 15 seconds. And then by the time, we're about to get ready to get a shot off, there's only 5 seconds left. They're scrambling and, it may be just too late by then. And Embiid just chucks up a shot last second. Or passes it off to somebody who has to then check up a shot too. So granted, this is something that hasn't been as of recent, but it could certainly be the case, tonight. We have a question here from Andrew Lizzie. Appreciate you hopping in here, Andrew. Thoughts on the pace of the Pacers? Pace of the Pacers. That's a good one right there. And we actually, I'm going to bring this onto the screen. We're going to try this out. Okay, hell yeah. Thoughts on the pace of the Pacers with some of our studs not having played a ton this year. Yeah, no, Pacers, that is one of the things they do. They play with a very fast pace. They like to move up the ball up and down the court quickly. And yes, that is certainly something that could, especially with Embiid on the court. He's really the only one I would be too worried about that. I mean, guys that are getting minutes, Maxey, quick, he has a lot of energy. Jared McCain, Paul George, I know he's had some injuries, but he can still move up and down the court well. And I could go down the list of every other Sixer. But really the only one I'd be too worried about in terms of pace would be Joel Embiid.
Right.
Just because of his knee, because he's not moving too well. But I don't know if you noticed in his last game, I did Joel Embiid looked pretty good. I'm not saying he looked 100%, but he did look pretty good there. But it is something that the Sixers need to be aware of. Hopefully Nick Nurse is letting him know about that. because they are going to need to put a little bit of effort. And that is something at times where, whether it's just being lazy with the ball or grabbing rebounds or just putting a little bit of effort in to get back on defense in transit or help on transition, will be, and stuff to limit this is, hey, don't turn the ball over, right? Which is easier said than done, but you need that kind of game plan there. And, may need to try a little bit there.
Yeah, ball security is a big one. It sounds like I'm talking football here, ball security, but it's true. It really is. Yeah, do not turn over the ball is a huge piece. And then also make your shots that are open. I mean, you have to knock down your shots, because if not, the Pacers, like you said, Lisi, they are run and gun. I mean, they like to push the pace there. They attempt a ton of threes, and they have guys like Neesmith. I saw shooting. He's not shooting a ton of threes, but he is a good shooter. This season, he's shooting 54% from three. You basically cannot leave him open or give him any space, or he's going to hit the three. So they have guys, and even across the board, I mentioned Siakam earlier, 41%. Benedict Mathurin's at 39%, close to 40, which is an elite three shooter. If you're shooting close to 40, you're considered elite in the NBA. And they have a couple guys. I mean, even Miles Turner, who's a 7-footer, shoots 41% from three. So they have guys that can knock them down, and that's part of Halliburton's skill set, is he creates wide open shots for others. He might not score 40 points on you. That's not his game with that funky shot, even though it can go in and he's struggling so far, but he will rack up the assist, and his guys on his team are shooting at a very high clip this year. So the big thing is to just knock down your shots, and like Mitch said, limit the turnovers as best as possible, which hopefully they can do tonight. And I think with, the pressure with the big fella back, kind of the pressure on everyone else should hopefully go down a little bit. And
and turnovers is one of the few things they've done well of. I'm looking right now at my Yahoo app. I don't know if you can see it too well. It's like just playing off the screen.
Yeah.
They are 12th in the league in turnovers, meaning they only turn over 13.6. So they're like the top half of the league. They are they're 29th in point scores. They only score 105 points per game, which in the modern NBA,
no offense,
super low, right? You need to get that up there. 25th in field goal percentage at 44%. You need to get that up. 21st in free throw percentage. You need to get that up. 28th in three-point percentage. 29th in 3 points made. They are dead last in assists. The only thing here, I know there's more than just what I'm saying here, that could speak to the stats and how they're playing. But they're doing decently well in terms of turnovers. But they're dead last in assists.
Yeah.
28th, so like third to last in rebounds. They're not shooting the ball well overall, whether it's just from the 2-point range or from deep. You're not going to win a lot of games, right? And that's why you're looking at a 7-15 record right now.
Yeah, and it's been a mix of injuries, but even injuries aside, I mean, guys have just simply underperformed. I mean, that's the bottom line. Is a guy like Tyrese Maxey, who we thought going into the season would be a key, I don't want to say he's not a key player, because of course he is, but we thought he'd be better than what he has been so far. I think part of it is, hey, you're missing Joel Embiid, and also a big piece, which we talked about in one of our first videos here, going back to the trade deadline, and a huge word that kind of goes underrated, I feel like, especially in the NBA, that people don't talk about sometimes, is chemistry. I mean, chemistry is massive. I saw a stat. I mean, besides the Chicago Bulls game, I think the Sixers' big three played maybe 5-10 minutes together. It's something extremely low considering where we're at in the season so far. They have barely played a full, 2 games together. They just have. So it's nice to, really start to build some chemistry and see what this team can be. Because obviously all the things that we look at, we're projecting. I think we're still one of the best teams in the East, but I'm projecting what I see, in terms of all the guys at full health here. And of course, this season, out of all the seasons, they decide to baby Joel Embiid and say, hey, our goal is get him to April. And they came out publicly and said it before the season started. Before we had our first game, they said, listen, we're going to treat Joel Embiid every game like, it's game 7. And if we not game 7, it's a preseason game. We have to rest him, essentially. That's kind of how they're taking the regular season, which is unfortunate. And now we're in a hole. And now you kind of look at, how we've been so far. But I don't know. I think the Sixers can bounce back out of this, man.
Yeah, absolutely. What's up, Jay Balvin? We got Jay Balvin in the chat.
That's good, Jay Balvin.
What's up, Jay Balvin? Yeah, we're trying out these new kind of features here on StreamYard where you can show the comments up on the screen, which is pretty cool. Like our last one on YouTube. We're not able to do that. It was just, you just got to see our, mundane faces. So we're going to be, trying out some different stuff, whether it's StreamYard, YouTube, whether it's a different platform too, on some of these lives, just to figure out what works best, since we are very new to this, noobs, if you will, in this process.
Yeah, no, and I do want to just kind of briefly kind of sticking with the Sixers and where we're at so far in the schedule. We play Indiana tonight at home. And then if you look at kind of our upcoming, at least our next 2 games, they are both versus the Hornets. The next game is Monday at the Hornets. And then they have a full, I don't want to say
Monday,
week off.
Sunday.
It's a Monday at the Hornets, and then they're off for 4 full days,
Again.
and then back Friday home. So I think this could be a big turning point in the year. I hope we look back at like this video and say, wow, remember the Sixers were 7-15? There's a lot of rest time here for Joel Embiid and honestly the entire team to really get healthy and start to lock in. And maybe this is a point where we say, okay, you look back, now we're 500, whatever it might be, because there's some winnable games. I mean, the Hornets were without LaMelo. I believe he's still out for a little while. There's some injuries banged up there. Brandon Miller's playing great, but the Sixers at full health, they should dominate a team like the Hornets. They just should. And I know looking at it where we are now at 7-15, it's tough to say like, damn, can we beat them? But you go back to before the season started, we'd be like, yeah, that's an easy dub. Next. So they have some winnable games here. I mean, the Pacers, the next two are against the Hornets. They play at Cleveland, which is tough. And then Christmas Day, we're at Boston. So they have some big marquee games, but now is to rack up some
wins. They go on a
6-game
road trip too, I think,
and get healthy.
At the end of this month into January, they go on a 6-game road trip.
Yeah, they're out west.
It's gonna be tough. Yeah, they go at Boston, at Utah, at Portland to end the year, and then start January they go at Sacramento, at Golden State, at Brooklyn before they come back home against Phoenix. So you want to win. You can rack up a few wins before that road trip. You're gonna need it.
Yeah, man. I mean that Boston game on Christmas is huge, and knock on wood that the full team is healthy. That's going to be an awesome game because. Once again, I mean, I hate to say this, but I feel like it is true. Do you think, and what do you think about this? Do the Sixers play down to their competition, or do you think that's kind of a myth? Like, what do you think for that? When people say they play down,
they did a very good job last year of not doing that,
and
that was last year. But for many years there, yes, they did play down to their opponents.
Okay.
So far this year, yes, but also they've played poorly against like every opponent.
Right.
So I don't even know if I would like agree with that. They have played down to their opponents because they just played down to pretty much every opponent.
Right.
We just went through like how many points they're putting up and then what they're playing, and a lot of that, yes, can be attributed to injuries and who's on the court versus not on the court. Yeah. But yes, they have it. They've lost to the Detroit Pistons this year, a team that should be a walkthrough. So like. Yeah, Charlotte Hornets, 2 games coming up against them after this Pacers game tonight. Yes, you'd like to lock it in as 2 wins, but you can't do that.
Right. No, yeah, I agree.
You don't even know, if Embiid's going to play in the next game or Paul George is going to get hurt.
But I do
be on the court.
But I do feel like, and you're definitely right. But I do feel like as athletes, like a marquee game, maybe not Christmas because it's a Christmas Day game. Like everyone gets up for that. It's a major against a rival like the Celtics. But even like these TNT games, I mean, I feel like players really lock in and say, okay, like I need to kind of, make my stamp on this game versus, hey, you're playing the Hornets, like we said, on a Monday night. There's not the same enthusiasm as, okay, it's a TNT Tuesday, versus the Knicks for the Sixers. Like players treat that differently. And I hate to say that, but I feel like it is true. I just like to kind of see the perspective.
Yeah, I don't think it's just something that affects the Sixers.
Right. No, yeah. I think across the league.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're in the chat, have any questions, let us know. We already got some beforehand, but I'm going to jump into some of the questions from Instagram that we had here. This is a question from Jack. If you could bring back one former Sixer, who would it be and why?
Wow. No, this is a tough question. I mean, there's so many guys that come to mind. Are we taking them from their prime and putting them on this team right now? Is that what we're doing?
I mean, Jack's not here, so yeah, we can go with that.
Is that what we're going to do? We're just say, hey, one guy in their prime, plug them into this team right now and add them to the starting lineup, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, so many names run. I mean, obviously you got AI, you got Dr. J.
I don't think you do AI just because
be small fit in the backcourt.
Yeah, you already got McCain and Max. I'm not saying they're AI by any means, but I think there's better players. Whether it's Irving or
it's a great question.
I feel like a guy. I don't know why, but I'm not saying he's not like the best Sixer all time, but like Iggy in his prime would be a great fit on this team.
You know who I'm going to go?
Because all defense. Or you say Drew Holiday?
No. Do you have yours? You're going Iggy?
I'm just going Iggy. I'm not saying he's the best Sixer all time, but I think for what this, if you fit him alongside Paul George, you got a pretty formidable, starting 5. I got Maxey, Paul George, Iggy, Embiid. And it doesn't matter all you put out there. You're gonna have 3 pluses on defense. If you put Iggy at his prime, all defensive player, a guy that can get you, 15 points if you need him too. I think he'd fit very well in the Sixers team right now. Who are you going with?
I'm going Moses Malone. Yeah. A lockdown 4, an absolute animal on the boards in his prime, which we need. I mean, to have a guy like that next to Joel Embiid to basically I didn't say Will. I did not say Will Lisi, but I mean, I could have said Will, which would have been a weird fit there next to Embiid. But no, Moses Malone. It's a rare pull. I try to go unique there, even though he's still like literally a Sixers legend. But no, I think that'd be a fun guy next to Embiid. I feel like the fit would be interesting. Not a great shooter, so that might be a tough point. But our center can shoot. They can stretch the floor, and as long as you have most of your guys can be able to stretch the floor, I think it's okay. And even Iggy wasn't like a knockdown three shooter, but he could shoot.
Yeah, so he certainly had evolved with the game back when he was in his prime. He was certainly not a lockdown guy. But that's also just the NBA was not a 3 and D kind of RPG, like just chuck up threes all game, right?
RPG, yeah. What's that?
Huh? No, because I saw something the other day. The 2016-17 Warriors, the 72-win Warriors, who shot at the time the most threes in a season,
right,
ever, would rank like 22nd in today's NBA. In terms of pace and just how many shots. Like the Celtics are shooting over 53s a game. And it's the whole separate conversation on whether that's good or bad for the league.
Well,
but again, back when Iggy was in his prime, or Moses Malone for definitely Moses, they weren't shooting threes. So it kind of comes with adapting to the modern game.
I mean, this is, before we go to the next question, this is a ball yap sesh. I do, to your point, real quick. Do you think that threes are hurting the game? The increase in threes are hurting the viewership of the NBA? Because this has been a real debate, and people have talked about this for a long time.
It's one factor. I don't blame teams for taking threes.
No, yeah.
Analytically and statistically and all that, they've run the numbers, and it's
win the game.
It's, hey, okay, if you can shoot 35% from three, that's better than shooting 45% from two. You're gonna score more points, and that's how if you're down by 10 too, because NBA is a game of runs. If you're down by 10, okay, shoot 3 threes. Or make 3 threes, you're down 1. You're right back into that game versus, having to waste time posting up by a big man or something like that, or hoping Drummond gets in like a lob or something like that. So, yeah, I think it attributes to it just because a lot of times there isn't a lot of, ball movement. It's ISO ball right into a 3, or you got like a screen, quick 3, or
right,
like 1 or 2 passes and then a 3. So it's not the most, appealing visually to watch. The most exciting.
Yeah.
But I think it's just kind of part of the game right now. I don't know what they need to do to kind of fix that, whether it's moving the 3-point line back. I'm not saying get rid of the 3-point line, but there's certainly some things they could do. I've seen renderings of, hey, let's get rid of, the corner 3, where I'm sure you guys have seen it, where it just kind of comes down to the arc. You can only shoot it from kind of the arc and up. It kind of moves 3-point shot back. Can't shoot from the corner. If you shoot at the corner, just a 2, like a really deep 2. So it's a lot harder to shoot a 3 because you can only shoot a 3 from smaller. You can't do 5 wide and shoot threes. You would have to kind of push it up to the top of the key. It'd be easier to defend, and it'd just be a harder shot than the corner, which the corner 3 is the closest one, and a lot of times the easiest 3-pointer to make.
Yeah, no, I don't support anything like the NBA trying to fuck with the actual court. I can't do that. I can't support that. I understand rule changes and adding in certain things. And I know even a big part of the game that people, before we go to the next question, just real quick, even a big part of the game that people say has ruined, I guess, the modern NBA and people watching it is that at the end of the games, it becomes a free throw competition. And I saw Bill Simmons on his recent pod even proposed a new idea. He's like, well, what if instead in the last minute, if you get fouled, whether it's whatever it is for shooting free throws, that first free throw, if you make it, it counts as 2 points. You're done. Then go play basketball and keep the game going. And if you miss, you get the chance at a second one, but that's 1 point. And I was like, does that really?
I thought it was if you miss it, you just get 0 points. That was a different.
I don't know. He came out.
That was a different something. I saw it as
really.
You get 1 free throw. And it's take it or leave it. You make it, you get 2 points. You miss it, it's 0 points. It's the team's ball.
That might have been
or just a live ball.
Yeah, I saw that was a recent video I saw on TikTok via his pod. But I mean, I don't know. There's so many ways that you can kind of help speed up the game. And once again, like you said, it all goes back to the analytics, and it says shoot threes, and players are making them at an elite clip. I mean, we're talking 7-footers shooting 40% from 3. It's just unheard of, and the game has not really evolved. And that's the game has evolved, but the NBA and the way that people watch it. It's a tough product to really sit there and be like, damn, I love seeing all the threes go in. It's different than it was. You go years back. I mean, it was physical. No one shot threes. I mean, and the problem is the game has changed so quickly. You go back a decade, 10 years, we're in 2014. The Warriors, that team we talked about, didn't exist. That wasn't there yet, right? You had Steph Curry's in the league and starting to kind of change the game slowly. But before Steph was in the NBA, the game looked completely different. I mean, it did. If a guy shot 40% from three, we're like, damn, like that was hard to come by. Now guys are shooting 38, 39% consistently. There's 10, 15, 20 guys in the NBA that do that on a yearly basis. So the game has changed.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Let's get into the next question here.
Yeah,
I know
next question we got here.
Sesh.
In both of our opinions, what has been the best starting five for the Sixers and why?
Best starting five for the Sixers. You want to take that one, Mitch?
Yeah, I'll go first with this one. I've mentioned it before in previous videos about I like Yabusele in the starting lineup, or at least in some lineups with Embiid, just because Embiid athletically is not what he used to be. He can't grab rebounds like he used to, can't jump like he used to, can't box out like he used to, can't be physical like he used to. So I'd like it where Yabusele, Embiid, and then paired up with Paul George, Maxey, and McCain. I know we haven't seen a lot of Maxey and McCain, but I do really think that gives them the best chance offensively. NBA is an offensive game, and I don't think having Maxey and McCain out there is going to hurt you too much defensively, just because Paul George and Embiid and throwing Yabusele if you want can make up for it. I understand people that are like, I match them up against like the Celtics, for example. Like, who's then is going to guard, Jaylen Brown and Tatum? Like, you throw Yabusele. I guess it'd have to be Yabusele and PG, and Yabusele is just going to get blown by for the most part.
I don't put Yabusele out there for that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to probably in that matchup. Maybe then you're starting like Caleb Martin or Kelly Oubre out there for that. It's really tough just because. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's like a game-to-game matchup, depending on who you're playing, who you got to match up with. Like the next two, they have, they got OG and Mikal. Like, okay, you want to match up with them with the wings. So, okay, you probably want to have Kelly Oubre or Caleb Martin out there to start to match up with them in addition to Paul George. But the best offensive lineup, I think, has to go to like McCain, Maxey, Embiid, Yabusele, and PG, because you got four really good shooters out there and scores, and then you got Yabusele who's going to do all the little things.
Right. I like that lineup. That one we've seen this year, or close to it at least. Maybe Embiid is missing, whatever. But I like that lineup. I would go, of course, the big three you have to put in there, and then McCain offensively has been great, and I think he should certainly kind of keep getting that starting nod, at least for now. Even though he's kind of in a slump, but once again, shooters go through slumps throughout the year. It's bound to happen. I don't think he's going to stay at Steph Curry levels all year, right? It's kind of hard to do that, but he'll bounce back, and he's been still overall pretty good. And then I think Kelly Oubre. I think Kelly Oubre is a guy that started a lot of games last season. He started a good amount this season. He's a guy that had a rough start to the year. His threes have been going in lately, and when he makes his threes, it looks a little more appealing. And it's like, wow, his game is actually decent. But the nice thing with Kelly is he is very decisive, where he's just kind of a bull in the china shop, right? He goes in, he decides I'm going in, and there's no passing out, whatever it is. So unlike a guy like Caleb Martin, who kind of takes his time with his decision-making, even though I've said it before and I'll say it again, if he's still on the team come playoff time, which I assume he probably will be, Caleb Martin is probably going to start just defensively what he brings, especially against a team like the Knicks, who have Mikal Bridges and OG, two wings, right? Like the Celtics with Tatum and Brown, two wings. Caleb Martin's a guy that can match up out there. But as of now, I think the most fun to watch starting five, I would go with the big three and then McCain and Oubre, just for me. But I understand Yabusele. Once again, if you're playing a bigger team and you need size out there at the four, sure, Yabusele. Also, this goes back to the whole point with the trade talks. Maybe they make a trade, right? Maybe they get a quality stretch four that can be out there for some games, whatever. That's an upgrade over Yabu. Who knows what they do? But the way McCain's playing, I don't know if you can trade. I don't know if you can trade him. I don't know. Yeah. It's hard. But who knows? I didn't go on a tangent there. But yeah.
Let's do another question here. We got. Do you think Kyle? This is a good one. Do you think Kyle Lowry will be part of the coaching staff after retirement? I haven't heard this one yet. I've heard a lot of negative stuff about Kyle Lowry. Granted, if you've been following us on Instagram, you probably saw our post at the beginning of the season that I put out there about why Lowry should start over McCain. That was when Lowry was like not missing a shot. He was like the best shooter on the team at the time, and McCain had just started out. I have very much so changed my opinion on that based on the quality of play as of recent. So I am now of the team, hey, Lowry should not really be touching the court because guys like McCain, Maxey, I'd probably even put like Reggie Jackson above Kyle Lowry right now. He just doesn't have a lot of juice left in the tank right now for him. But yes, it would be awesome to see him as a coach. He very much, would be an amazing coach. I don't know if it'll be here in Philadelphia. I don't know if it'll be, for one of his, like for Toronto, his previous team. I know I assumed he'd want to stay in, Philadelphia because that's where he wants to retire, where he's from. Whether for the Sixers or for a university, it'd be cool. I mean, I'd like him on the Sixers coaching staff. Yeah, he's already kind of doing that. Like, I mean, even on the bench, he's like every time I see them pan over to Nick Nurse, I swear he's like right next to him. He's the refs or whatever.
He's our Udonis Haslem right now. He really is. He's our Udonis Haslem. I mean, that's what he is out there. But Lowry struggled mightily, and like you said, I think in terms of the juice in the tank, there's not a lot left. He's just at that age, right? When you get up to 38, 39 years old, which I think he's 38 right now. I mean, he's up there. He's been in the league for a long, long time. I mean, we were little kids when he was playing at Villanova. So that's how long Lowry's been in the league. But yeah, I think it'd be cool to have him as a coach for the Sixers, his hometown team. And who knows? But it's a very interesting question. I mean, he's still on the team. He's an active player. So it's kind of funny that we're talking about this like he's already retired. But, Lowry, as much as I hate to say it, there is a chance that I'm sure he's going to play some minutes throughout the season still. He'll get in some games for sure. And then who knows if he heats up late. Nick Nurse is a Lowry guy. He coached him in Toronto. Come playoff time, veteran leadership is a real thing, especially out there on the court in a game that sometimes is very intense and just, a lot going on. I wouldn't be shocked if Lowry got some minutes, depending on how the season ends for him and how he progresses. But as of now, he's been terrible. But
yeah, I mean, he's still a veteran on this team.
He's still a vet.
He's a guy that did contribute to the team last year. I mean, he got valuable playoff minutes and performed well in the playoffs. He's a guy that gets you another ball handler out there, a playmaker, and a guy that can knock down threes. And he struggled for most of the season outside of like his first 4 or 5 games, and you like to see him get some of that back. But for right now, I do not want to be seeing Lowry really touch the court at all. I'd much rather see Maxey, McCain get a boatload of that. And then you can throw in, maybe Reggie for a few minutes there. But there's just a lot of like forwards and other guards too that can get minutes over them, whether it's KJ Martin or Caleb Martin,
right?
Or Oubre, for example. Like because like PG and Embiid can bring up the ball, like you don't always need like a primary point guard out there, right? You can throw out Kelly Oubre out there with one of Maxey or McCain, and you're good to go. As long as you have PG can bring up the ball and B can bring up the ball, Maxey or McCain can bring up the ball, or even if neither of them are on the court, like someone else can take those kind of primary care of the ball.
For sure.
We got a few other questions here. NBA Finals prediction. I hope that Sixers are in there, so I'm going to put them in
let's
there.
Let's be biased. Yeah.
Yeah, let's be unbiased about the Sixers in there. And I mean, I don't see why OKC can't make it to the finals this year. They made it far last year, and they're a young and up and coming team. I know they're dealing with some injuries right now with Chet Holmgren out, but Jalen Williams has been an absolute beast. SGA has been SGA, still an absolute beast. They got Hartenstein back recently, so if you can, if they get their full lineup back with Chet, Hartenstein, and Jalen Williams and SGA, and they got guys like Caruso off the bench too. Yeah. I don't see why they can't make the NBA Finals.
Yeah, no, I
Sixers Thunder would be fun.
That's like a my league sim. It has that feel to it.
But Sixers got a long way to go before that. Like Thunder have a much better chance of making the finals.
Yeah. I mean, outside of the Sixers, if I had to not, which I'm gonna pick them because we're Sixers fans and we're gonna support our team, and I still think we have a very good chance. I'm not like a Pistons fan saying like fuck yeah the Pistons. No, like I think the Sixers like have the talent to get there. Can they put it together and be healthy? The odds are, of course, stacked against us, but who knows? You never know. And we're going to stick by our team. So I'm going to go Sixers there. I think Celtics are the second best team in the East, but they're very good as well. And then in the West, I like the OKC pick. I'm going to stick with, and this is hard because it's very hard to get back there. I like the Mavs. I really do. And also, there's been a lot of rumors, once again, with the trade deadline, and Jimmy Butler's been floated out there. There's been a lot of pieces floated out there. Who knows what the Mavs can maybe make a deal. But I like what they bring. Luke in the playoffs typically elevates his game. Yes, is he kind of a one-way player? Yeah, but Kyrie Irving also elevates his game. Derek Lively's been huge for them. Was a great pick. What was that, 2 seasons ago? PJ Washington, when healthy, has been awesome, and he's just a stretch four that they need out there, and he can also be physical. They got Clay. I mean, Clay exists. I know he has not
Najee Marshall, yeah.
Najee Marshall's cool. Clay's not the old Clay that we remember for the Warriors in his prime, but still to have a guy like Clay out there just at least space the floor and the way that Luka can create for others is huge. So never count out the Mavs. It's tough. I mean, Luka's an MVP guy pretty much every year. So I think they'll be in it, but the OKC Thunder are a great pick, and they have just that young blood. And at the same time, they brought in some veterans like Caruso, like a Hartenstein, who was fantastic for the Knicks last year. As much as I hate to admit it, he was awesome for them. He got a shit ton of rebounds against a hobbled Embiid. So, I'm sure they can repeat that this year, and they have depth.
And too, like Hartenstein's really good at setting picks.
Yeah.
If you have him out there at Chet, like then Chet doesn't need to be the one to set the picks. He can be spacing the floor, hitting the three.
Well, how long? Do we know Chet's status in terms of injuries? I don't know how long is Chet.
6 to 8 weeks, I believe, from when he got hurt, which was a few weeks ago. I'd assume he comes back. He comes back in about a month.
Says 8 to 10 weeks. This was November 30th. So,
it's been about 2 to 10.
You're probably talking early February, mid-February, I would assume, around there. And that's if things progress well.
Looking at the standings right now.
But they're a good team, and they're good. I don't want to say they don't need Chet because Chet's awesome. And
they're sitting atop the West at 19-5. They're 2.5 games up of the closest team there. And Lou Dort, we didn't even mention. Isaiah Joe, ex-Sixer there. He's been a good piece for them, putting up 9 points per game. Would like that on the Sixers, 38% from three. And they just have, you just keep going down the list of, Aaron Wiggins, next question here we do have is, who would you like to see the Sixers acquire at the deadline? There's certainly a few names that come to mind. First off, Tobias Harris. I'm just kidding.
No, here he comes.
Well, I do have a few extra bags of chips. So could away for Tobias Harris, get him back there.
And a crumble cookie too.
A nice crumble cookie.
Thank you.
Never been a crumble cookie, but I will go and get it. I will drive a crumble cookie and get one. Tobias back. Or maybe we'll take the new SEPTA Subway.
Yeah, $13.
$250, $13 after the new $1.5 billion arena. Who knows? I'll go to Crumble Cookie and get another $20 cookie.
Damn!
By the end of that, we're right back at his $38 million.
That's a max contract
on the Sixers. Jokes aside, one, I don't think they, it's too early, right? Like, there's a lot of things that need to happen. I'm not saying that they're not going to be buyers at the deadline, because I think they will be, just because they're trying to win now. Two, sometimes you don't need to make trades. Like I talked about it in previous videos, like they've fallen into traps of making big trades. Not saying that this is going to be a big trade where like they trade for Butler, for example, at the deadline, but they have fallen for that trap, and it hurts chemistry. And like the deadline's late, so like you only have like 20 or so games between like the deadline and like the end of the season when playoff starts. But they do have the contracts ready for that to go. Like they have the KJ Martin trade that you can partner up and combine with, McCain, who has a lot of value, to get a decent piece. I mean, a guy that's been in, the Sixers like trade targets and talk has been, Dorian Finney-Smith has been there for a long time. He's a wing that can guard, help you out against the McKells and the Tatums and the Jaylen Browns a little defensively, and also stretch the floor three. Not that I would like them to trade KJ Martin and McCain for them, because I think McCain has a lot more value than Dorian Finney-Smith. Another guy too, like a Malik Beasley, who can stretch the floor, a little bit older. You could probably get him for just a bunch of second-round picks, considering he's on the Detroit Pistons. And they're Malik Beasley is not part of the Pistons' future.
Right.
So
yeah.
there's certainly more names that pop up. These are just kind of the first few that kind of popped in my head, and then either they're on losing teams and will get dished, or they are guys that have been in the kind of the trade target zone of the Sixers for the last few years.
Yeah, some of the two bigger names out there, I guess, the deadline. And once again, like you said, it's still a little far away. I mean, I think the deadline's like early-ish February, right? Around there. So we still have over a month and a half. So before we even get there, but Herb Jones has been floated out there, and Cam Johnson, the Nets. Cam Johnson, contract-wise, a little harder to acquire. Herb Jones is on a Pelicans team, which is sitting close to the bottom of the West, mainly due to injuries. They have a good core, but at the same time, they're never healthy, and they always seem to be just mid or way below average. And Herb has a decent contract. He would be, I think, a phenomenal fit here defensively. He can guard almost 1 through 5. At versatility, I mean, he can shoot the ball, put the ball on the floor a little bit. He's not an elite creator by any means, but just once again, we go back to, hey, there's only one ball, right? We already have Maxey, PG, and Embiid. I think just to have a guy in there that can have that defensive versatility for the Sixers would be huge out there. That would basically solidify your lockdown, starting small forward, if you will, or he can float around there too, and really guard that wing in that series that you need. So Herb Jones would be a nice fit. And then Cam Johnson on the other end, I think he'd require a little bit more to match salary with. You might probably have to give some picks for either, but these are win now moves. Cam Johnson provides a lot more offense than a Herb Jones. Defensively, not as great, but you also get a little more size there with Cam Johnson. So it just kind of depends what you want. I wouldn't be shocked if the Sixers go for them, like either one of them, just because I feel like we typically try to make a splash at the deadline. Morey's kind of known for that. I feel like every year, like you said, you don't want to fuck with chemistry too much, but these are guys that you're not bringing in Jimmy Butler, right? That's a personality. That's a name. That's a guy that demands the ball in his hands when he plays, which he never really plays, but when he plays, a guy like Cam Johnson, these are more high-level role players that can kind of plug and play. It doesn't require as much. So who knows what they do? We still have a little while to get there, but depending on how the Sixers progress, hopefully they can start to rack up some wins here and get out of this funk that they're in. I'll call it a funk, but yeah, we'll see. Excited.
Yeah, no. One game at a time. Only focus right now for the Sixers should be the game tonight against the Pacers at home. That's a 7 o'clock tip-off. We'll certainly do some live, streams during games in the future. Unfortunately, I will be gone this evening, so we won't be able to go live for the game unless he wants to go live during the game.
Might pop in. Yeah, we'll
maybe pop in live or something like that. We'll certainly, maybe we'll do the Monday game against the Hornets that we're available for. I know the only live so far that we've done are just kind of Yap session, Sixers talk, and everything like that. The main reason we want to do the lives is for the games itself, which will be a lot of fun. And we'll be able to, kind of commentate and react and everything like that alongside you guys while you're watching the game yourselves. So that'll be a lot of fun and excited for that. But really do appreciate everyone that's hopped in during this time. We had Andrew, Olivia, and Mr. J Balvin. So we've got quite a crew. Some were calling it
celebs, man.
Some were calling it a dream blunt rotation. I don't know. Hopefully we're part of that. But yeah, really do appreciate all the support. We are currently at 66 subscribers, so we are 2/3 of the way.
We're getting there.
To our goal, 66%, 2/3. Break it down, and we're very close to our 100 subscriber goal. 100 subscribers isn't our goal, but that's our kind of first milestone there. We'll give away our first $25 until we get to every 100 subscribers, until we get to 1,000 there, and move on the season. So everyone have a good Friday. Check out our video we just popped out earlier about the new arena. Whether you're for or against it, drop a comment on that. I assume most people are probably against it, but hey, drop your opinion there. Have a conversation. Have a little bit of dialogue.
Yeah.
And everyone have a good weekend.
Go Sixers.
Go Sixers, baby. Cheers.
Cheers.